5:30, I call the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District meeting to order on January 8th. And let's begin with meeting minutes.
I make a motion we accept the minutes from the December 18th, 2018 meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Payroll and manifest,
I make a
please.
motion we accept the payroll and manifests as presented.
So moved.
All those in favor of this?
Aye.
What you have?
Take this top one first. So we have the roll and the challenge. Do you get these?
That one I'm not. You're not seeing. I get everything else. Yeah.
And you got your copies tonight? Did you get what you needed?
I had one or two. There's probably another one in here with my name on it. Right.
This is yours.
Robert?
And this is yours.
It's in your packet, the budget.
Yes. So next up, in recognition of all the public attendees, we're going to move on to the budget and rate hearing. 5:33, we'll open the rate hearing,
Budget.
budget hearing, yes. And
I think everybody that wants one has a copy.
yeah. I'd like to begin by summarizing and letting folks know that we have decided, as of a recent meeting, to not proceed with all but one of the projects that we were discussing at the previous public hearing. That one project would be the water supply project in Holdings, where we're drilling new wells for a new water supply. The board felt that we could not, it was not in the best interest to tie us up with long-term debt for all those other projects, but we've been spending decades looking at water supply. We feel like the time is right, the financing that we are receiving, or the grant money that we're receiving is significant, it's 50%, and it's certainly one project that there's no quick fix for. It's not like repairing a broken water line. This is a project that's going to take several years. It better secure. It provides security and long-term insurance that we have water long-term into the future. So we felt like the time was right and that the project was of great importance. So with that in mind, we have, additionally, we have decided, oh yes, right.
Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah, that is the page there. We have set the budget for water for 2019 at 1.354 million and sewer at 1.877 million. And we will be putting $200,000 into capital reserve for each of both water and sewer. And just as a refresher, we're doing that because we decided to not go ahead with the projects. And we feel like it's important that we put ample money aside for projects that arrive urgently, repairs, or other matters that we're going to have to deal with at some point. And then further specific to the rates, we've lowered the minimums to $250 for water, and then we're going to set that, that's for the first 5,000 gallons, then $12.97 for each additional 1,000 gallons of water. And then on the sewer side, we've lowered that by $50 also to $4.50 for the first 5,000 gallons. And then the incremental rate will be $15.64 for each additional 1,000.
250 and the 450 are annual.
250, right, the 250 and the 450 are annual.
Right, and Mr. Chairman, you said lowered based on our other deliberations only. These are
Yes.
These are increases. But
Well, right, the 250,
we hadn't presented,
I'm sorry, yes,
yeah.
right.
The 300 and the 500 were just your deliberations
Yes,
earlier,
yes,
so
correct.
those were reduced from that point.
Yes.
Just stick with the budget because
There's a historical rates for everybody out there so they can see,
Yes.
and you have it too.
Ask if there's any questions about the budget.
Are there any questions
About the budget first.
about the budget specifically? Yes.
In looking at capital reserve, they're looking at Main Street out 2023, or is that right?
Let me just respond to that.
Yes.
That capital reserve, that capital improvements program now needs to be wholly updated.
Right.
We distributed those tonight just because that's what we have been thinking in the past, but since the board made the decision not to proceed with all of the projects, we need a regroup with our staff and our engineers and the board to decide where are we going forward. So that basically is an outdated CIP, but it is what we have in place right now. Did I answer your question?
Yes, so basically, we don't know when.
That's right. Well, the
For
board,
2019, we're not going to be doing Main Street this summer.
Correct.
no. Again, that's the CIP that we have had in place until a month ago when the board decided not to pursue
Yeah.
all that debt.
Right.
And so we need now to regroup with our staff and our engineer to go through the CIP and basically recreate it.
Okay.
Yes.
Just a generic question.
Yes.
Bring us up to date relative to what had happened since the previous meeting, relative to your discussions with rural development. It was confirmed that the whole scheme that we approved last year was not going to happen. And-
Well, we decided that we were not going to accept the grant money and proceed with those projects because
But
we
you're
felt,
accepting some of it.
well, actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
the money for the water supply will be coming from state funds, not from federal funds.
From the MBTE trust fund.
Right,
So you're accepting none of the rural development
That
funds?
is correct,
It was
yes.
all or nothing?
that's correct, more or less correct.
And I presume you need all the necessary arguments with congressional people and whatever relative to how this happened in 1 year at a time, that we went forward based on best information and now we're backing off. How did we, what did we check with on that at the state level?
We didn't check with anyone on the state level.
Well, I'm thinking a year ago, we all sat here and were convinced, and we don't have to rehash all of this, but we were
It's
convinced
not
that this
really a
was the way
budget
to
question
go.
either.
Subsequently, that all changed because the rules changed.
Well, I wouldn't characterize it that way.
I thought that's what I heard last meeting.
Well, that was part of the decision.
What changed for us was, we had an understanding based on prior advice from RD that we could play these projects out over 5 years and add the debt gradually. This round, I don't know if things changed or we got better information or somebody contradicted somebody else. that, we would still have 5 years to do it, but it wouldn't be in our best financial interest because this stuff is all really complicated. There's no soundbite answer, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Once we go to the bank and start the interim financing, the clock starts ticking on that interim financing until you have substantial completion of all the projects. So if we were gonna do, and we're not, but if we were going to proceed with the $18 million worth of projects, it would behoove us to get the shovels in the ground and get them closed up, substantially complete as fast as we could. You don't get the grant money until you're substantially complete, and you don't close on the RD loan until you're substantially complete. So doing that over 5 years would eat away at the amount of the grant, because the interim financing is counted as part of the total project. So doing it out over a number of years would not enhance, it wouldn't help the project any financially. But beyond that, I mean, so that's, I think, the answer to your question, but I think the board just took a look at what the debt service would be on the $10 million that we would still have to borrow on if we were going to go forward, and decided after gut-wrenching deliberation that it was just too darn much for our ratepayers to bear.
In that lump sum?
And we didn't know this a year ago when we voted to.
No.
No.
Didn't know what.
Well, we've always dealt with rural development, we have for years.
Here's what we,
What bad advice did we get from them?
Here's what we
They
did.
asked us to lump things, right?
Here's what we didn't know. We didn't know that we would get all that grant money. Some of you will remember, we were hoping, we had a big poster that we'd get between 25 and
Right.
45%. We didn't know if we'd get any. So we reached, and they did encourage us to bundle,
Yeah.
and we were awarded everything we asked for. But then, when you draw the line and you decide, you see how much you still have to borrow, it just, the excitement over getting the grant money soon ebbed when we looked at how much we would still have to borrow to do that work.
Plus, the interim financing has a big impact on things. We're talking about carrying the entire debt
But
for
that,
5 years at a higher interest rate than you
Yeah.
would be when you closed on the permanent loan.
Okay. So we're kicking the can down the road, as we talked about last meeting, in terms of these projects that obviously were needed, or they wouldn't have been applied for. We're gonna lose some money, some grant money to do it. We're hopeful, I suppose, that we're gonna have other funds, maybe not through rural development, but some other source, so we can pick up some of these projects.
Well, we're also putting in $200,000 to each, water and sewer in anticipation of getting these projects done too,
Mhm.
which we haven't done before. So,
Okay. It's from a long-term planning point of view, this thing was a total disaster. As I saw it, you're looking at the numbers here or whatever, I mean, you could have got better advice, I guess, as to the worst-case scenario aspect of
we,
getting a good
we asked if
percentage.
we could reduce the scope, and we weren't,
We were told
we
no.
weren't allowed to do that.
Right.
But that ship has sailed, and I understand why you want to talk about it. We've been
It's- well,
talking
it's
about
not-
it for several months.
Not until the budget is approved, or the annual meeting approves it, that's when
No, the
you're
ship is,
presenting this
no, the
to
ship is
us.
sailed in that, there's nothing in that budget that relates to what you're asking about, Dick. That was all last year's
Right.
appropriations, and now the authority to bond money was granted. The decision to do it has been made in the negative, not to do it.
So you've basically already agreed not to accept the money
Yes.
Correct.
That is correct,
Okay.
yes.
without going back, because we gave you the authority to borrow it.
Yes.
You have now decided not to
That-
borrow it. So all the discussion tonight or whatever is about how to move forward
The budget.
without any of
Right.
those funds being discussed.
That's right.
Right.
This budget has nothing exciting or dramatic in it except the $200,000 that we would like to put into capital reserve in each water and sewer.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just,
I'm continuing with the well, which is not in the budget because it was in the budget in 2018.
right.
But these large rate increases for both water and sewer are independent of this action.
Correct.
Independent of what action?
The action of not getting these funds and so on,
Correct,
not moving
that's right.
forward. Have we gone forward?
As was explained at the meeting, if we don't go forward with the projects, the rates were still anticipated to go up, so
Okay.
that we could save for the project, for some project in the future.
Yeah, when you
We have-
compare the debt service on $19 million and putting away $400,000, they're not that far apart. But, we just felt like locking this district into 30 years or thereabouts of guaranteed rate increases with no way out, and was not a good idea. I mean, we're setting ourselves down a path of significantly increased debt.
Every year.
And it was not even covering all the projects that we needed to cover in this town. There are other things besides this 19 million that we need to be thinking about that weren't even on that. So, I mean, there's got to be, we don't know what the solution is going to be, but there has to be a better way than this.
Are you aware of any legislative attempts to increase the amount of state aid grant for these programs, or?
I don't see,
Haven't
the
heard
the
anything.
mood is not out there to address infrastructure.
So as our infrastructure crumbles, the locals are gonna have to pick up, obviously, the difference from what the state used to contribute. It's now the rates are reflecting that drop in state support and federal support for what's needed. And that wasn't.
And that's everywhere, not just here.
Oh, I know, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
it's just,
that's
it's
the reality.
everywhere.
It's a cost shifting.
Right.
I mean, we built our infrastructure with, at one time, to 75% free federal money,
That's right.
20% state money. On top of that, we at the local level paid 5%.
We didn't.
Now
there
we're
was-
flip-flopped, and, we're paying the whole boat.
Is there a question in there?
Yeah, I'm looking for, capital improvement plan.
Right.
It's gonna reflect some realities here down the road.
We
Well,
gotta redo it, we gotta
Another
start
cost,
prioritizing
another
the
cost.
projects.
What's it gonna cost us to redo it?
well, I mean, there is a lot of discussion to be had here. I don't want to draw out.
This is
Yeah,
a hearing on the
right,
budget
right.
Yeah.
as presented for 2019.
Right.
Is there another
Which
question?
it's basically bare bones
Mr.
except for
Sansucci.
200,000.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. You answered my question. So,
So the $400,000 that you're putting away is the reason for this horrendous rate increase?
Yeah, I think we explained it
A whole
previously.
reason.
Well,
The other part of the reason is because last year we used fund balance to reduce the rates, and we don't have that kind of fund balance to do it again. So it's a combination of things. And we knew last year, going into the rate setting, that we were using fund balance that we wouldn't have again the next year. Unrestricted fund balance, in other words, what?
No, I understand what
Okay,
it
but you're
is.
looking confused or,
No, I'm not confused, I'm just a little perplexed, I guess, that these rates are skyrocketing to this amount, that's all.
this is what we've been trying to tell folks, that it would happen.
It was,
Well, I realize the work needs to be done. I don't think there's anybody in this town would say the work didn't need to be done. I guess it's the rate of speed at which we do it at, and how much we set aside to do it at, is what people are gonna question. At least that's what I'm questioning. No, I realize $400,000 is not a lot of money in water and sewer. I mean, as far as setting money aside
it's a
to
bare,
a certain point.
it's kind of a bare minimum.
Yeah,
It's-
to a certain point. But there's 1,100 people that have to pony up to the bar to pay that, plus the operating costs and everything else that goes along with this. So unfortunately, what you're saying is because the way things are now, you're very uncomfortable with not at least putting that amount away. That's what you're telling us. You couldn't put less away and keep the rates down a little bit lower.
Well, we could, if you lower those
And feel
numbers.
comfortable, I should say.
Yeah, right.
if you lower those numbers, there's no savings there.
Yeah, if we lowered them to 100 each on water and sewer, that's just,
And it doesn't lower the rates all that
About
much.
a
One
do-
problem.
It's about $1 for water and more than
Yeah.
that for sewer.
yeah. you know, we looked at a lot of different variations on what brought us to these final numbers. Just, you know, looked at sensitivity as we increased, you know, 100 to 200, and you know, we also looked at those minimums because we were concerned about impacting people who are low-income peoples. You know, there was a lot of,
Fixed income people.
yeah, right. It's,
Because we had originally tossed about the minimum at 300 and 500, so we reduced the minimum to 250 and 450.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's gonna impact people my age that are living on Fairgrounds Road and places like that may not have the financial wherewithal to be able to.
yeah, well,
It's gonna be tough on a lot of people, a lot of us older people, because we are all living on fixed incomes, most of us. And I realize you can't put it off forever, I'm not suggesting that you can, but unfortunately, we're in a situation now where we have to really start getting creative and start thinking about, what about the projects that we can do as a water and sewer department to, reduce some of the burden in the future? We have equipment, we have men.
Yep, we'll
And
always
I'm not
look
saying
into
they're
doing
not
that
working
first.
hard, that's not where I'm going.
Yep.
I'm just saying, is there things that we as a water and sewer department can undertake to relieve some of the burden of this?
well, that's part of what Mel hinted at before, was, you know, revisiting the whole CIP plan for the next 10 years. I mean, our job would be a heck of a lot easier if we just strolled up here and said, blinders on, you know, here's the next 12 months. Here's a rate that's more or less the same as it's been. I mean, we can live like that. but one day we're going to walk in here and say, hey, guess what? Everything's broken, and
Right.
and we don't have a solution. And that, I think that would be completely
Irresponsible.
irresponsible. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and that's not what I'm
Yeah.
suggesting at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, maybe a little less instead of as much, that's all. And you're saying, you as a board don't believe that it's the proper way to go about it. You do need the 400,000 to feel comfortable.
Well, we've yeah.
That's a number we feel comfortable with, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
that's what I'm asking, that's
Yeah.
all.
Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
So any questions on the budget?
Any further questions on the budget?
Close the hearing, then.
Well, then at about 7 minutes of, we'll close the budget hearing
And the rate hearing?
and the rate hearing, yes.
Unless people have questions on the rate. No?
I think they were asking them at the same time.
I would ask for clarification to make sure.
Yeah.
Are there any questions, just to be clear here, are there any questions on the rate for 2019 as opposed to the budget itself?
I have one other question, if I
Okay.
could.
Yes.
How do we see in the future?
Mm.
In other words, we've got this
That's a good
increase this year.
question.
What are we looking at next year and the year after, and the year after that?
I think that's tied to how we develop our CIP. I mean,
Yeah.
we just don't have that answer. We cannot look that deeply into the future, Paul. I mean, our CIP is outdated. It was based on what we were gonna do. We're not doing that. We need a new plan. So I cannot give you that, we can't give you that detail,
Okay,
that clearly.
in other words, you're working on a new CIP so you can figure it out.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, based on $400,000 a year.
Yeah, no,
So,
that's a reasonable answer, I think.
It's the best we know right now.
Yeah, okay.
Well, without any further questions, I'll call the budget and rate hearing closed then. 5 of. And we'll move on to wastewater proposal from Camp Belknap.
Right.
where is Camp Belknap?
It's over in Tuftonboro, I think.
So proposal to receive waste and treat water.
Right, Lamprey Septic, one of our vendors, one of our haulers, is going to clean the lagoons at Camp Belknap, so they can close their camp system. And Jason's recommending that because this is mostly liquid, and And Lamprey has a choice of bringing it to
Allenstown
Allenstown or here. It's about the same
distance.
transportation distance. Allenstown price is a lot lower, and Jason would propose to offer Lamprey 55 cents a gallon. No, 5.5 cents per gallon.
I was gonna say, it's a lot of,
Yeah, I know.
we'll take 55 a gallon.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's about 500,000 gallons, and it's low-strength wastewater. He's gonna have it tested before he accepts it, but he would ask the board to approve that price and let Lamprey bring the material here.
So temporary thing while they're doing maintenance, or they're
No,
closed?
they're gonna close their
This is also-
lagoon system, and,
This is a one-off.
and you asked about the cost, and he sent us an email.
Yes, it broke down.
Did you remember what he said? Yes, here it is, right here.
It was a few $1,000s.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
Handy,
An extremely thorough breakdown of,
what the cost would be.
So they're closing the lagoons
Yeah, I
and,
can't,
and then doing what with their
well, they'll have to, I don't know if they're.
hooking the
so that's their
municipal? Okay.
cost, and that's the gross. And the net.
Okay, 5.5.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I would seem,
Still makes.
based on Jason's
Yeah.
explanation, I think it clearly makes economic sense.
As long as
Motion
it
for
doesn't,
this?
Yeah,
as long as it
yeah,
doesn't over.
I told Jason it sounded good, but we need to get the board to approve it.
And he's checked to make sure the RBCs can handle all this, and
Yeah, he's not gonna do anything until he gets an analysis of the material.
okay.
So, make a motion that we accept the wastewater from Camp Belknap as presented by Jason, this memorandum.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Just curious, what was the volume of all?
500,000 gallons? It's a one-time, not, I mean, it'll be multiple trips, but it's a one-time project where they're cleaning out their lagoons.
All right, next up is an abatement request for 300 Main Street, and since I am a tenant in that building, I'm going to recuse myself from this decision.
Okay.
Judy and Steve.
So we have a request for abatement at 300 Main Street, and it's being requested because December readings came in high with usage of about 45,000 gallons compared to an average usage of 13,000 gallons. The owner was contacted, and it was found that there was a small leak at the meter in the crawl space, which was repaired, but it was a very minimal leak. And then it was further discovered that there was a running toilet in an unused bathroom, and as soon as that toilet was shut off, the readings went back to normal. All the water went through the sewer system. So an abatement is not recommended, and any abatement would be offset by the any sewer abatement would be offset by the administration fee. So I need a motion.
I would make a motion that we do not grant the abatement for that, as recommended.
And I'll second that. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, Mr. Chairman, the only outstanding thing about the deposits into capital reserve is to decide where they would go.
Yes,
And-
right.
And because we had just said, let's get 200,000 in each budget, put it in, but we need to decide which of the accounts we'd want to place it in. And I made a recommendation here to put 200,000 into the water acquisition, because that's our foremost project.
That's the project
for-
we're gonna be doing.
Right? And then split up the sewer, the 200,000 to pump station improvements and to the collection system emergency repair, because I don't mean to,
I guess my only question would be that the 200 for on the water side
Yeah.
would be, we are going to eventually be taking out new debt on that project.
well, we'd
And
have to
would we-
borrow less if we could use this money.
That is true. But
Sorry, I didn't mean
we
to
have, we have to wouldn't we not want to consider putting some money in capital reserve so that, if we had some type of a break, that,
Yeah,
for the same
I
reason
pulled
that
up the accounts for you so you could see if you
Yeah.
want to put it someplace else. I just, those were my thoughts.
I think I have that one. I'm missing that for some reason. My only thought was, the water storage tank, because we have to clean it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not enough money in there for cleaning, correct?
we're
And is it cleaning this
fielding
year
a
or
proposal.
next year?
You have a proposal coming in for that,
I
isn't
think
that
it's
right?
gonna be in a couple of years, or within 5, not next year. So that news got better as it aged. But I
Oh,
don't.
okay, because I thought we were still
I can
looking
support
at.
that, yeah, I think that once we have to do something with the storage tanks, it will be expensive. So if you want to split that up, I'm not stuck to the suggestion at all.
I mean, we know we have 50% funding right now for
Yeah. Right,
for the well, so
yes.
I'd almost like to see that broken up into,
Yeah, don't apologize, I think it's fine, Judy, I think you
Yeah.
guys need to think about it.
maybe put 100 in the water acquisition and split 50 into a couple of others.
So we have almost nothing in the water main construction. Oh, that's construction and reconstruction. That emergency repair is pretty good.
Between those accounts?
What, Bobby?
My question was, do you have the authority to move money between those accounts
We-
anyways?
No.
We would if
No,
it
they-
was a,
The board can access the money, but you can't,
So where
If
you
you're
put
gonna-
it is very important, and that's what I'm asking.
yes, that's why we need a decision to.
can we move it though if it's a, no, if it's goes on the warrant? Like if we're saying we need to repurpose, or we can only rename, there was something we were
No,
allowed to do that we
The
can't.
annual meeting has to discontinue.
Right, that's what I was asking.
We've done that.
We can change the name of an account, but we do it at annual meeting.
Right,
But the board can only use it
Right.
for the
For
purpose
the
for which
purpose
it was voted.
established.
okay. Thank you for that clarification.
So you were thinking 100 in the water acquisition and then 50 and where?
50 in storage tank, inspection and cleaning,
Yep.
unless somebody else is looking at this differently.
I thought we were fielding some type of proposal for the storage tank in the past couple of months.
There was some
Were we-
follow-up where the folks that came in and did the inspection didn't think things were as dire as Jason feared.
Ah, okay.
So
okay.
that news improved, and it's not in this budget, and
Okay.
it'll be down the road within 5 years, but it's not dire.
Okay.
And so
Maybe
50
we don't need 50, maybe we want to just put 25 in that, you know?
I didn't want to split up this
It-
because $25,000 doesn't
Doesn't
really
do
get
much.
us very far.
Okay.
Right.
So that's why I was thinking in large, lots of zero figures. Do you want the emergency repair? Do you want that account to have more money?
The water main construction and reconstruction, because what happens when we start thinking about Main Street?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, seeing as that's
Seeing that's $600.
right,
Alright.
virtually zero.
Water main
Yeah.
construction and reconstruction. Okay.
Does that make sense?
I mean, if you're happy with that.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
So what was your final decision?
50 in water main construction and reconstruction for
Yep.
Main Street.
Yep.
And 50 in the storage tank,
Yep,
because we
okay.
know we gotta do it, and then
The 100 in the
100 in
well.
the big one.
Yep.
Do we need motions on those?
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, let's just agree by consensus that that's where I should place them in the budget and do the warrant accordingly.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the capital reserve deposits as proposed are 100,000 in water acquisition, exploration, and development, 50,000 in water main construction and reconstruction, 50,000 in storage tank inspection and cleaning for the water side, and 100,000 in pump station improvements, and 100,000 in collection system and emergency repair on the sewer side.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
Thank you.
Solar.
Yep.
Solar and septic receiving. All right, for septic, we are, let's see, 28.
Yes.
So we're up about,
58,000. No, more than that.
yeah, it's something like about $60,000 we're up from, in 2018 from 2017 in gross revenue.
That's good.
And then,
That's all septic.
yeah. And then our solar for 2018 total for the year, 140 megawatt hours, and monetary value of $22,000. So that's very nice as well.
Was that up, down, sideways?
So I don't, it's the solar I don't know about.
Next page.
The,
Oh.
the septic receiving is up.
Yeah, I know, I thought it was solar.
I don't think so. Very bad November.
I know.
Very bad.
Lot
Very
of fall.
cloudy. Yeah, lots of rain.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is,
November was really low.
yeah.
Our best year, I think, was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Yep.
Here's our comparative graph.
We're up from
2017,
2017, but down from 2016.
2016 and 2015 looks like they were up maybe.
Pretty much even.
Yeah.
But you're paying higher recs at that time too.
Higher what?
Recs,
We don't get Rex.
you don't get recs.
We
What's
get to
Rex?
Rex. We get to
The
Rex.
money you
Oh,
sell back,
Yeah.
they've dropped significantly.
Purchase orders?
Yeah, purchase recs. Okay. What's on the, okay, so we've got 12 POs this time around, and many of these are,
They're all hard cross at
right,
the beginning.
yeah, right. The first 6 are for Harcross, these are all for
Are
chemicals.
those our yearly numbers?
Yes.
Yeah, those are
Okay.
annual, so we've got 13,251, 18,324, 2,180, 3,525, and then 7,064, and then finally
Night, Dick.
22,944. These are all for chemicals payable to Harcross, part of our annual
Purchase.
POs for them. Then on further, PO of $4,000 and 4,500 payable to Irving Oil, and that's fuel for the water and sewer vehicles. Number 8, $3,240 even payable to process distributors. That's for the
Calcium hypochlorite.
calcium hypochlorite for our drinking water additive, or treatment rather.
Filter.
Yeah, number 9 is $1,104.78 to North Central Labs for lab supplies. Number 10, $930.40 to Index Labs for the E. coli testing lab supplies. 11th, $3,760 payable to Eastern Analytical for water sampling. And then lastly, a $500 even to the state of New Hampshire for sludge quality certification permit fee.
And
Make a
I make
motion that we accept the purchase orders as presented.
second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Any questions? Let's send you 2, there's 2, 3.
Always fun. I'll just collect them here when they're done. How's that?
Okay. So,
Bless you.
I'm just checking, I'm counting.
He's making sure we're honest.
Ken, there should be one more.
2 more.
2 more. Or there 11 or 12? 12, 2 more. Oh, there's 3 more.
There's,
I think
there's
because
2, the Irving Oil is 2.
Oil is 2, so that's right, 1 for
I
each.
couldn't stand to make the list any longer, so I coupled them. I'd be happy if they put them all on one PO.
Yeah, the hard cost ones could have been grouped, one would think.
That's on me.
That's 13.
All right.
Public comment?
Public comments, anybody?
I just have a question.
Yes.
This is no longer valid then?
Well, see, that's a snapshot of where we're at this very moment, but,
It's the last adopted one, but it's,
Yeah.
we're not gonna go forward with those plans.
Right.
The best piece of information on there is the balances of the various capital reserve accounts have been updated.
Okay.
And those are, obviously, those are still projects on the horizon.
yeah, they're not going off they don't go off the
Well,
short
they don't
list.
go away until they're
Right.
done. No, I
Right.
understand that.
Yeah,
No, okay. That's what I wanted to...
But we have some work to do to get it. So we can live with it again.
The other comment I would make is I want to thank the board for reconsidering and allowing the public to give them input on what they really thought about bonding all of that money and so on and so forth, because I think that,
It's a lot
I
of
think
money.
you came to a good decision.
It's a lot of money, and it impacted our community for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, there you are for the next 30 years, or 20 years.
right.
Hopefully, everything will go along smooth and we don't have a lot of problems, but if the other way, even if we had a lot of problems, it might have been something that wasn't part of what we had budgeted to do, so we could still end up in even a bigger mess
That's true.
with
That
not
was-
a lot of movement. So, anyway, thank you for your reconsideration of the matter.
We appreciate your
Thank you.
your input, yes. Yes.
Yeah, my comment is, when you're looking at future rates, to kind of, look at a decent increment that's, I mean, we have to save for the total amount, but, not go up and down on the rate increases so that, people can look at a 15 or 20% increase every year for the next 15 years.
I'd like to think we're at a new, as I
Yeah,
said
we-
before, a new normal,
normal.
right?
Yeah.
And that we can continue forward at more or less where we're at
Mhm.
for 2019.
Well, and that's good, but I still think, we had a rate increase about 8 or 9 years ago, and then we didn't really do anything, and then we're having this big one. And if we'd have had 5 or 6% on an annual basis over that 10 years, I mean, it would have been, rather than getting hit with 50%.
Well, consider we also did, in the past 9 years, we did a bunch of projects. It's not like we
Well,
haven't done anything,
But
but,
John,
no,
I think you bring up a good point. I think
Yes.
at our last meeting, Judy alluded to
Oh,
that.
yes.
We had some difficult times in our
Yes.
past with some of our former commissioners who just did not want to raise rates for a while.
Right,
And
right.
so,
When I talked to them, I think
Yeah.
in 2008, they said the reason we didn't go up earlier was we didn't need the money. Well,
Yeah.
You always
you're
need the
gonna
money.
need the money when you
Right.
plan.
right.
So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
this is just
But
silly
again, I echo
to
Paul's
do stuff like that.
sentiment.
We should
Thanks
just,
for reconsidering and doing this.
I have one question. What other sources do we have for grants besides what we just went through?
Well,
We pretty much know that it's the state and then the federal government. There are emergency grants available, but they come from the state
NRD.
and rural development.
right.
And that's with the town, that's with the state, I mean, and this, we had the same issue last year, and you guys had it this year, so.
Yeah, you guys got nailed last year on it.
Yeah. Well.
It was our turn.
Yeah. Yeah, we got nailed.
That's right.
I'm there too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't anything we planned.
Right.
What services are available for the fixed income 80-some-odd-year-old person who just is not going to be able to pay this increase?
There's the senior discount, and then, Mel, do we have the?
That's all we have.
There's
I mean,
Right.
you know,
payment plans.
Yeah,
Right, and then there's payment plans. No interest.
When people need fuel, there's a dance they have to raise money to help
Keep the heat
offset
on.
that, keep the heat on.
Right.
Can we do something like, I don't know if that's opening a whole can of worms. or-
Yes, you can. Go right ahead.
No, but you know what I'm,
to keep the
Yeah.
heat on is a private
It's a private
organization.
organization.
It's not run out of a municipality, so
Right.
that
But
yes, that could
So-
happen.
Yeah.
We can't do anything as a municipality to do that.
so if you find, when are these rates going to take effect?
The billion in March.
In March.
Or
If you find you get a lot of people, a lot of calls and people who can't do it or whatever, and they're really getting torn, I want, like, maybe the Rotary could do something, maybe, who knows?
Well,
Get together and do
start
something like they
looking.
did.
Yeah, it's, I
there
don't
are a
think
lot.
we can actively go seek that.
But you can let us know.
I would say that if you're interested and concerned, go for it.
But if there aren't enough people,
Well,
then I don't want to, I want to know what the numbers are like this before I would do something like that. Obviously, the heat there has been this year is probably a lot better.
To date, our rate of payment is very, very good. It's very, very strong. There are a few people that get on a payment plan, and it's not usually the older folks on fixed incomes.
Really?
No.
Well, I know, and we have some acquaintances, when they got their tax bill and everything else. These people, yeah, they're paying it, but they're talking no food, they're, no cable, and not that cable is a necessity, but this is what these people are doing
Right.
to
Right.
pay it.
Everybody's
so-
getting
so if
creative.
it was something that we could, help people, so maybe that's something we can work
Okay.
on with the Rotary in there.
But I'd like to know if they aren't able to pay, then we go on to something like that, but.
I'm sure we can let you
Yeah,
know,
well, just fine.
like we
I
have.
don't have any data to share with you at
No.
this
We'll just
point.
wait.
Right, it wouldn't be until March.
Wait until later, yeah.
How much is the state, did you say, gonna pay for the holders?
50%.
Yeah, it's,
50%?
yes.
They should pay 50%. They should pay about 90% of it, really. They're the ones that have caused the salt content in that water. We're not giving it. Anyway, thank you again, have a good day.
Thank you
too.
for coming.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, I'll make a motion, we go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 90.